What's going on, everybody? Brett here, and I'm happy to bring you today. Finally, the big reveal. Tic-Tac-Toe. You gotta love Lizardmen names. The Master of the Skies, the Master of the Skies of Hexoatl, I believe, as he's referred to in the lore. He is a skink chief, and he's going to be our FLC Lord. A lot of people right now on Reddit are disappointed that it's not Gorok, the Great White Lizard, or Nakai, the Wanderer, the giant albino Kroxigor, taking his place as perhaps a Lord choice in Albion. Lots of cool things got passed up. However, I haven't given up hope on those two Lords ever making it into the game, and I'm also personally not unhappy with Tic-Tac-Toe as a Lord choice. He has some pretty decent lore. He is kind of on a first name basis with Lord Mazdamundi. He is a powerful skink lord. He rides his unique pterodon in the battle, and because of his kind of unique status as the Master of the Skies, he brings a lot of buffs and a lot of unique gameplay centered around pterodons and ripperdactyls, who are a new unit coming with this DLC. So there's also, I will say, before we get going and reading, the little bit of info we have about him, there's a bit of controversy right now over whether or not some of the aspects of his gameplay will be locked behind DLC. So he is a FLC Lord, which means if you don't buy the DLC coming up, the Prophet and the Warlord, you'll still have access to him as one of the the new Lizardmen Lords. However, kind of his biggest buffs go to buffing some of the DLC units, the brand new Ripperdactyls. So some people aren't too happy with that. I can certainly understand why, but we have to wait and see what CA decides to do with that. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the screenshots because we're going to get some good info from this based on just what we can see here. We can see he has his two unique items. The Blade of Ancient Skies, he's wielding in his hand here. The Blade of Ancient Skies was carved from the dense fossilized jawbone of a monstrous skyborn predator that went extinct in ages long past. Very cool, and you can see the teeth on his blade there. It reminds me a lot of Avatar, when the giant blue people have to tame basically pterodactyls, and yeah, that's kind of what he reminds me of, straight out of Avatar. Although this certainly predated Avatar. And he's also wearing his unique Mask of Heavens. This mask allows the wearer to meld his consciousness with the minds of the mighty pterodons. Dominating the will of the beasts, Tic-Tac-Toe and his pterodons fly through the jungles as though they were a single entity, dodging trees and enemy arrows and striking the foe with all the skill possessed by their skink master. Very cool. So, he gets to kind of mind meld with the pterodons. And he does have a unique pterodon that he starts every single campaign with. He does not start on foot. That's a pretty cool thing. His pterodon, if I remember right, his name is Zwup. Kind of a cool name. And yeah, Tic-Tac-Toe and Zwup, the teammates you need. So let's go ahead and look at some more pictures. Here we go. So we have Tic-Tac-Toe. This is kind of a cool little unit sheet that they do with a lot of the new stuff. And you get a much closer look at his model. Very colorful. I love his decorations. It says the eye in the heavens. Tic-Tac-Toe floods the skies with deadly pterodons and ripperdactyls for ultimate air superiority. Just watched a stream from CA, and you really want to bring pterodons and ripperdactyls if you're playing him. The buffs you get are enormous, and maybe we'll go into that if they don't give us more details once we get to the end. Precision Strike. With a swift and deadly maneuver, the Master of the Skies can utilize the speed of his forces to cut down foes whilst they are still preparing their defenses. Aerial superiority. Tic-Tac-Toe leads only the most capable riders into battle. With great speed and strength, they overwhelm the opposition under a hail of fire and swooping charges. So associated with these, if you're not familiar, are actual stats. Every time he levels, he's going to get the option to pick these particular talents. And I think these are all the ones from his unique line. You pick it one time, there's only one skill to get per line, and it allows you to keep continuously going down. And you can kind of pick what you want. This, I think, is the end of that talent tree, probably the most powerful ability on it. A deadly payload dropped from the skies onto unsuspecting foes that can crush the enemy and break their stride. Drops Fear of Teapot. And it basically lets him drop, I think it's an armor sundering rock, and it does a lot of damage. In the stream, we saw them used on Tomb King units, cheap infantry, and it decimated them. So pretty cool. Curious whether or not we'll see something similar to that in the multiplayer scene. Blade of the Ancient Skies and the Mask of Heavens. We already kind of went over that. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the next picture. We can see here Tiktaq'to, that's his starting position in the Immortal Empires campaign. Yes, I can kind of tell from this map. This is the, oh, I'm sorry, not the Mortal Empires campaign. This is the Vortex campaign. It's a big map, but it's more tightly packed, and it doesn't include the old world. So he's very close to Sudenburg. It appears he starts at war with Sudenburg. So that's going to be fun. You get to fight the Empire as the Lizardmen. You know, what you kind of can do in Mazdamundi's campaign, but those guys are generally pretty nice on his side of the world. So you can sometimes leave them alone, and you maybe only fight them once or twice, and then they're gone, right? But Tic-Tac-Toe has to cross the waters and you know, get into these other cities, and looks like it'll be a real fight. Looks like they control 3 cities right from the beginning. So this should be a lot of fun. And he's also got Tomb Kings, other Lizardmen, Skaven to the south. So there's going to be a lot of stuff for him to contend with in his campaign. No surprise, he starts with, this looks like horned ones. So extremely powerful cavalry and then some Pterodon riders. These may be the Fireleech Bola variant. It's hard to tell from just the picture. But he starts with some pretty cool units, so that's nice. And this may be some kind of weird wonky screenshot because he's already got his special weapon at level 1, which I doubt that will be the case. So here we actually get a nice view of the Vortex map. So this is where he starts. That's where the picture we just saw. Yeah, everything I just said basically. No need to repeat. But this is the one people were actually clamoring to get a hold of, and it's the Mortal Empires map. The much bigger map. You can see here, even now, check out this huge empty space. That's where people are really speculating for Warcraft 3, for Ogre Kingdoms and the Chaos Dwarves and all that. It's going to be here. I'm happy they're even including this big blank space in the maps now. But this is an awesome spot for our boy. He's going to be next to a lot of dwarves. I know Arkan the Black is here. I think Sudenburg is still here in the land of the dervishes. And other than that, he's got some Bretonnians a little ways off, as well as lots and lots of Tomb Kings and then Orcs up here. So, and then if you go way to the east, let's say you decide to maybe conquer this corner here, and then instead of going to Lustria, you can turn back around and try and fight someone like Queek or Krokgar, try and ally with him maybe. You've got lots of cool options. In any direction you go, you're going to find and be able to pick a pretty cool fight. All right, that's enough of the pictures. Let's read what they've written for us here. It's of course going to be available April 17th with the rest of the content. I know a lot of people get confused because you can't, I don't think it's an automatic install. A lot of times it'll tell you, hey, you don't have the DLC when you load up the game for the first time, or the FLC, and then you need to go and manually download it. So I know I've been confused before. I'm like, hey, where's my FLC Lord? And you just have to go and make sure you do that on the day the game launches. So about this content, Tic-Tac-Toe, Master of the Skies for the Temple City of Hexwaddle, yep, is the greatest of all Pterodon riders. Atop his fierce Pterodon, Zwup, he patrols the firmament, leading his squadron through the narrowest ravines and steepest valleys, surprising the enemy by appearing from unexpected directions and bombarding them with a deadly hail of rocks. Master of Skies is a most honored position, outranked only by the Skink Priests and Slan Mage Priests themselves. To this end, he has been gifted the lethal Blade of Ancient Skies, made from the jawbone of a long-extinct giant predator, and the Mask of Heavens, allowing him to meld his consciousness with the Pterodons as though they were one. Can't wait to see if there are some really cool quest battles associated with those two items. That would be sweet. Tic-Tac-Toe is a paragon of aerial combat and inspires those around him to great feats. Among his many unique bonuses, he grants a suite of buffs to Pterodon and Ripperdactyl units in his army, including melee attack, upkeep reduction, starting rank improvement, ammunition, speed, and physical resistance. And trust me, from what I saw in the little showcase they did this morning, these are some pretty powerful buffs. And the physical resistance, I want to say it may be 10 or 20%, but either way, any amount of physical resistance is going to be huge. And it stacks pretty well with some of the other buffs that they're already able to get. And it's easy to forget when you talk about all of these unique buffs that he gives. He also has his Redline skill, which you can go down and buff the heck out of Pterodon riders even further, and Ripperdactyl riders. And I mean, they'll be extremely scary. They'll be flying monstrous cav with all of these crazy buffs. And in the late game, you'll be able to field like half stacks just full of flying units, and it should be very, very fun. His faction of Tlaq'to also has some unique effects. All recruited skink heroes have immediate access to a pterodon mount. Very similar to the update they're doing with Bretonia, where all Bretonian lords come with a horse. So that's one less point that you have to spend from a level in terms of equipping a mount. So that's a nice little cool buff, and it's very flavorful. I like that choice. And all characters gain 25% to their campaign line of sight. Also very flavorful. You know, he's up in the air. Of course, he can see things that are going on around him. The unique right of Zunki, when performed, immediately resets the campaign movement range of Tiktaq'to's armies and characters. So that's a pretty unique thing as well. Rights are things you do in the game. It costs you money. Sometimes it costs you other things. Certain conditions have to be met. You spend the money, you activate it, and you get some sort of great bonus, right? In this case, you reset your movement. So sometimes it'll be useful to escape. Sometimes it'll be useful to chase. But it's something that I can't wait to play around with. In terms of like a head-to-head campaign, something like that, it's a pretty huge advantage. So let's see. By Mazdamundi's command, Tiktaq'to will lead Tiktaq'to to restore the geomantic web in the Southlands. Tiktaq'to always starts on his mount, Zwup. The two are as inseparable in the game as they are in lore. And just to note, Tiktaq'to will also have access to unlock Lord Croak, or Croak. I like to pronounce this Croak. I know some people say Croak. I mean, he's a frog. He's a giant frog. Lord Croak makes sense to me. But it's also cool. He may be the only Lord also in the game who starts on his unique mount. You know, Karl Franz has to get up many levels, like 15 or so, just to get to Deathclaw. Krokgar has to level up quite a bit to get to Grimlock, right? But he just starts on his Pterodon, and I don't know if he ever gets access to Ancient Stegodons or some sort of unique Ripperdactyl mount. I don't think he does. I think he just stays on Zwup. And what you've got is a powerful Lord from turn 1 who can do a lot of unique things. But guys, that's going to be it for me today. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this kind of in-depth look at all the info we have here on our new Lord. So he's not Gorok, you know, kind of sad. He's not Nakai, it's kind of sad. But he is cool in his own right, and I'm excited to play as him. He adds a lot of flavor to the campaign map. He adds Lizardmen to a part of the map that's devoid of Lizardmen, so that's going to add some diversity to other types of playthroughs. And, you know, I'm not disappointed. And honestly, I think if we wait long enough, we'll end up getting at least Gorok or Nakai. I don't know if we'll get both, but I'm sure down the line, maybe a year from now, you never know. But I think we will get one of them eventually. There's just so much room. There's also another skink who I thought might have a chance. I think his name is Oxidal. It's hard to say his name. He's a chameleon skink who got trapped in the world of chaos, right? And he fights for a long time in the chaos wastes, killing demons and all this sorts of stuff. And then one day he comes back and he just starts killing again. And I thought he would be a cool choice. He has some decent lore. He has a unique play style, right? I thought he would be a cool option to put up in the northwestern corner, kind of around where Malekith is. And I thought having a Lizardman in the icy climates would be pretty cool. Someone who like stalks the northern wastes of chaos. But, you know, of course he didn't make it in either. So I don't know if Tiktaq'to was anyone's favorite pick, but I think he's a pretty happy middle ground. At least they did some unique things with him. And we'll have to wait to see, to get our hands on it, to see just how fun he is. So once again, that's going to be it for me today, guys. My name is Brett. My channel is Good Talk Gaming. I hope you enjoyed this kind of look at Tiktaq'to. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. If we get more big news, once we get our hands on the patch notes, I'm going to happily sit down for an hour or two and read through all of them for you. So feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you did enjoy it. And yeah, stay tuned for an in-depth reading of patch notes. So that's it, guys. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.